Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just let me know when we're ready to go, I guess. Okay, we good? Yeah. All right. Okay. 3, 2. We good? Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so this is A Link to the Past, low percents, no major glitches, and this category had kind of a new discovery in June of this year. So, so before this year, it wasn't too different from any percent no major glitches. The main difference is basically you don't get Tempered Sword, which makes the boss fights harder. You don't get the Boomerang, which changes almost nothing, and you don't get the Sanctuary Heart, which is just 1 extra heart. But we did have to pick up the boss heart containers. This is one of the few Zelda games that forces you to pick up the boss heart containers before it lets you actually pick up the boss prize. So in June this year, there was a glitch discovered called Ancilla Overload, and basically what this does is you can overload the memory of the game that handles ancillary objects. It only has a certain amount of slots. So if you can overload the game with too many objects that would fill those slots, then what happens actually when you grab the heart is you don't actually get it in your inventory. So we beat the entire game with just 3 hearts now, which actually changes this category quite a bit. So this is actually a really, really difficult run.
Is this going to have save and quits?
Yes, it is. This will have save and quits, actually, yeah. Mostly in the interest of marathon safety. So if I do the heart deletions wrong, I can soft lock the game. So I'm gonna use the save and quit route just so I have some safety to fall back on in case I have to reset to an earlier save. Okay, so this is the Boomerang chest, but since we're not getting it, we have to do a bit of a different card strat to get the key. The ball and chain guard's pretty strong. I like the 1 pot 4 slash strat. Pot does same damage as 4 slashes. It's a little bit faster to do just 8 slashes, but it's harder and it's like barely faster. So I've got to grab the lamp here to be able to light torches in early game, and
just to finish the escape.
Yeah, Zelda doesn't let you push the mantle to the sewers if you don't have the lamp.
She's afraid of dark.
Yeah, basically. So what's kind of funny about this game is that it has coded mechanics in it for dark rooms. So if you don't have the lamp, then rooms that are dark are pitch black. Normally you get a light cone in front of you, but if you don't have the lamp, they're pitch black. But since you need the lamp to push the mantle, the vanilla game actually never puts you in a situation where that would come into play. So that's more of a randomizer thing, and like some glitch categories, I suppose, where you could skip the lamp. But it's kind of funny that that is programmed into the game when they didn't intend you to ever be in that situation. Alright, so I'm gonna push this like 3.5 tiles over. Or not tiles, but stripes on the top of the doorway. That was pretty good snake RNG. That can get in your way a lot. So there's a guaranteed snake in front of me here, and there's sometimes one on the left as well. But I just slash the guaranteed one out of the way. I don't like taking my chances on the left. Because the left is a bit extra walking, and it might not even save time.
Damn, this game has snake RNG too? I thought that was just SM.
That was really bad key rat RNG. This is still pretty good pace for the escape though. This is like a low 550s. My best escape time is 551. So normally like sub 6 is like kind of what most runners aim for. In general, like if you can get sub 6 escape, you're pretty decent. 556, okay, that's not bad. So I'm just gonna save and quit to get to Link's house. Since I am allowing myself to use them in this run, it's a faster way to get to Eastern. So Eastern Palace is going to be the first boss that drops a heart container, so it's going to be the first time that you see me do an Ancilla overload to delete the heart. Now the setups in the second half of the game for the heart deletion, they're pretty easy to do. Because you have the Cane of Samaria. So basically, we have to fill 5 Ancilla slots to get the heart fail to actually give us a heart. And the Cane of Samaria makes it really easy because you lay a block, and then you dash and explode the block at the same time. Using an item dash, which is a Japanese 1.0 only glitch, dashing and using an item at the same time. So you do an item dash with the cane into the heart, and so the cane block explodes. Each of the 4 cardinal beams of this cane block counts as 1 Ancilla, and you get a 5th Ancilla from the dash dust. So that's 5, that's enough to prevent the heart from spawning when you touch it. But we don't have the Cane of Samaria. It's a very late game item. So we're going to go to Misery Mire as soon as we can. I need to pick up this magic pod, actually. I need a bit of extra magic in Eastern because not having the Cane of Samaria for the first half of the game, you have to do some different setups. They're more involved. They're easier to fail. So really the hard part about early game is getting those heart deletions. Actually pulling them off. So I need extra magic because I need to use my lamp 5 times for this setup. So I need to use it 3 times, and then I'm gonna shoot 6 arrows into the wall, and then I'm gonna lamp twice and walk into the heart, and that should delete it. So you're probably like, hold on, you said you only had to have 5 Ancilla on screen to delete the heart. I'm using like 8 or something, but also there's a trick coming up here. This is really common. It's in pretty much every speedrun. These Palace big keys skip. Got it. So I stepped on that tile while I had invulnerability frames from the Popo, so I didn't have to kill every enemy to get the anti-fairy quad to get off that switch. So that saves a bunch of time not having to kill everything. This Stalfos is... Wow, that was rude. Get out of here.
Expect to hear a lot of that.
Yeah. I'm gonna kill this Popo just to be safe. Make sure I don't get hit and misfire my bow. Because I will die to these Igors, they do 1 heart of damage. Okay, so the quick kill on this boss, if I kill the last Armos Knight before it turns red, then I can prevent it from ever turning red and going into its second phase. So let's try not to die here. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, so we're not getting the quick kill. I need to make sure I don't die now. I just completely miscounted. Okay, there we go. That's fine. So I lamp 3 times, shoot 6 arrows, and then lamp twice, and the heart's gone.
So is this type of low percent possible on any other version?
It is. You can't cane dash on non 1.0, but it's still possible to do the Cane of Samaria setup without dashing on the same frame as you explode the cane block. It's just very, very hard to do. You have to do like a frame perfect setup for it, I think. So I meant to shoot 5 arrows to the right at the start of the fight to set up for the quick kill, but I started thinking about the setup for the heart deletion, and I got kind of confused. So I'm gonna get these rupees and bombs from back here. Actually, I don't really need these. Oh well, that's fine.
Safety.
So now I'm gonna get the Book of Medora, because I need it for Desert Palace. So I'm trying to dash on these slopes kind of as much as I can, because they give you relatively free movement in both directions. Oops, I paused a little bit too late. I think each bonk costs slightly more than 1 second. Okay, so I can dash to this Devil Ant if I poke dash it and then and I let it give it enough time on screen to form. If you try and do that poke dash too fast, then you get caught in the sand. That was nasty, Cannonball RNG. I was not ready for that. Sometimes they're nice to you and you can just dash all the way through. But usually if the cannonballs aren't nice to you, then you have to stop, start your dash again, and then when you get to the big key chest, you have to delay your dash on the way back. So I'm making sure that I get all these arrow pots because arrows are the fastest way that we have with this current item set to defeat Landmolus, the 3-worm boss of this dungeon. And it's a really, really difficult fight to execute anywhere near well. It's really hard to aim with the bow. And one of the suckiest things about fighting with the bow here is that the hitbox for the arrows is very tiny, and you cannot shoot another arrow if there's one on screen currently that hasn't hit anything. So if you shoot an arrow and it misses, you have to wait until that arrow hits the wall before you can shoot again. And you can try to shoot again, but you'll just fire a blank, and you'll waste all the animation time of doing so. So it kind of leaves you defenseless if you fire blanks by accident. So that really throws a wrench into this fight. Ideally, in the opening phase, you want to get a couple hits each on... You want to get a couple hits each on the first 2 worms, but you want to do as much damage as you can on the third, which is kind of the most difficult part of it. But you want to do as much damage as you can on the third because... One, two... Oh, okay, that... I might die here, actually. Let's try and not die here. Oh.
That's one.
That's... Really shouldn't be dying this early game, but actually that's pretty easy to have happen. So I have a few less arrows to work with. Yeah, I'm gonna have only 25 arrows going into this fight. Isn't terrible, but also isn't very good. See if I can get a better opener this time. No, that was definitely worse. You want to prioritize killing Worm 3 though, because it's the one that costs the most time to show up when a cycle starts. Okay. And we do the same thing. 3 lamps, 6 arrows into the wall. And 2 lamps pick up the heart. There we go. Alright. So the way this particular setup works, doing 3 lamps while facing a particular direction, it resets a certain variable that's actually used for an Ancilla search index. And that basically means it sets a variable that tells the game what part of the Ancilla memory to start looking at to start deleting stuff if there's too much stuff. And that's important because it normalizes the amount of arrows that we have to shoot. So I said that we need to fill 5 Ancilla slots, but I keep shooting 6 arrows. And the reason I'm shooting 6 arrows is because it cycles the particular slots that that I'm having the arrows take up, so that it ends up on a slot. I think where so the arrows end up on a slot where that the Ancilla search index isn't going to end up choosing to delete the arrow. It sounds kind of complicated, but what actually happens is that there's only 3 arrows stay on screen at a time. If you shoot more than 3 arrows on screen, it deletes the rest of them. So I still have to shoot 6 because I want to manipulate what slots they're filling up. And having the Ancilla search index at a particular number makes sure that when I do the 2 lamps, none of the slots that I have filled up get deleted or get replaced by the heart. So basically, if I didn't do the 3 lamps at the start, the setup won't work. It'll actually succeed in being like, oh, well, this arrow isn't as important as the heart Ancilla that we're putting over your head, so we're just not. We're just going to delete the arrow. I'm making sure that it actually doesn't delete the unimportant ones, and it instead deletes the important one. I can't use that particular setup here, though. There's a weird thing with boss rooms, so I think when they made this game, they didn't want you to be able to use the mirror to warp out of a boss room. And this is the first dungeon where you're supposed to have the mirror. And they didn't want you to warp out of a boss room after you killed it, but before you picked up like the heart and the pendant and stuff. So they, starting in Moldorm's boss room and every boss room from here on out, once you kill the boss, the game makes you unable to open your menu. So because that wasn't true for Armos and Lamulus, I guess they weren't worried because it's like, oh, well, you don't have the mirror. We don't need to prevent you from menuing. I was able to menu from lamp to arrows back to lamp to do the setup for the deletion. But now I'm not going to be able to do that for these other boss rooms, so I need a different setup to delete this heart now. The setup I'm going to start using once we get into Dark World, like once we have Master Sword and stuff, it involves a sword beam. Because the sword beam gives you a way that you can use a slot. I'm going to do a bomb jump here to get the Moon Pearl real quick. Ooh, I placed myself within the 2-pixel window successfully. That was good. Oh, this is scary. This Moldorm is not supposed to be here. Okay, this Kodon goes out for blood. He does an entire heart. I'm just going to go down. So I'm going to put down a bomb here for seemingly no reason. So the only way for me to actually get 5 Ancilla slots filled in Moldorm's room where I cannot pause the game to switch from arrows is I need to lay down 2 bombs, and I need to have exactly 2. So that... Oof. I need to have exactly 2 bombs here so that when I laid my 2 bombs... the game automatically switches me to the next item, which is lamp, because I won't have any more bombs. Let's try not to die here. So the game will force menu me from bomb to lamp once I do this. And then... Oh. Is he enraged now? No. Wait. And then once I have the lamp out, I can machine gun 3 lamps in a row. And if I get all 5 of these things on screen at the same time, I delete the heart. So this is actually pretty difficult. Okay, there we go. You have to do those lamps really fast for it to work, because a lamp flame disappears after 20 frames. So within a 20-frame window, that's 1/3 of a second, you have to hit all 3 of those lamps and then touch the heart. So I actually had to fall down here because the way this setup goes actually it fills enough slots that there's no room for the pendant to actually spawn. Now, normally that would be a soft block, but in Moldarum's room, you can fall off the edge. So this actually works out really fortunately. We can just fall off the edge and then come back up and grab the pendant after that. You might wonder, if it's so hard to light the lamp 3 times, why don't you just keep 3 bombs and only have to lamp twice? And you can't do that because I think bombs are only allowed to occupy and slow slots 0 and 1, so the game will only allow 2 bombs on screen, and it won't let you lay anymore after that. Okay, so because of save and quit routing, it kind of changes the rupee route a bit, and it becomes a lot better to just get these 300 in the back of escape. So the any % no way to glitches route is able to really easily get 600 rupees from the Dark World village. Because there are 2 chests there that have 300 rupees in them. But in low %, we don't have the boomerang, and one of those chests is actually has the red boomerang, the upgraded boomerang, if you don't have a boomerang in your inventory. So that means, number 1, we can't open it because it would give us the boomerang, and it would invalidate low %. Number 2, it's not going to have the 300 in it to begin with, so we're actually short 300 there, so we have to get these extra 300 from somewhere else.
Pad hype.
And we need 500 total rupees later to get the flippers. Okay, so now that we have the Master Sword, we can go kill, we can go fight Aghanim, climb the tower. Aghanim's tower is basically just a gauntlet of linear rooms, of combat rooms. Because arrow count is so critical to a low % run, I'm not going to be using quite as many arrows as some better strategies would, because I need to save them. My arrow count's pretty low as it is. Got the fairy drop even. So in most categories, there's a strat you do to dash kill those guards to avoid that fairy from spawning, because if the fairy doesn't spawn there, then you can get it. You can get it from Pokey in Turtle Rock because of the way the drops in the game work. And if you kill an enemy with a dash, it never drops anything. 0% chance of dropping. And enemy prize packs don't cycle until they produce a drop, which is usually 50-50. So if you don't see a drop show up, the next prize in that particular pack won't cycle at all. So in most categories you'd want... wait, did I not get the key? I didn't get the key. Alright. Most categories you want to manipulate that fairy to show up in Turtle Rock, but in low % we only have we only have 3 hearts in this category, so it kind of doesn't matter too much whether we get a fairy or not. Plus, there's one cool thing we can do, is that if we advance that prize pack, if we get that fairy, or if we get even just the heart, we might potentially be able to get a full magic drop from the Helmasaur in Skullwoods later, which is actually pretty useful in that dungeon. This fight is pretty much just flat out luck. He has 5 attacks in his cycle. The first one's a guaranteed yellow energy ball, which will hit him no matter what. The next 3 each have a 50-50 chance to be a blue ball, which does absolutely nothing. And he takes 6 energy balls to die. The 5th attack in each cycle is a lightning strike from the top. But since we know when those all are, it's really easy to dodge. So I have 2 blue balls so far, which average is 3, but because you get a guaranteed one at the start of each cycle, 3 means that you will kill him at the start of the 3rd cycle, which means it costs more time to get 3. It costs a lot more time to get your 3rd blue ball than your 2nd one. If I'm lucky here, that wouldn't have been a blue ball, but it was. And if that wasn't a blue ball, he would have died there. But since it was, I have to sit through another lightning, so that cost me extra time. But this is still the average. Statistically, this is the average fight you will get is 3 blue balls. So 3 blue balls is about 24-25 seconds. It's about 6 seconds per ball, and it's 6 per extra lightning attack, approximately. Getting 0, getting a perfect fight is a 1 in 16 chance.
And it's in your PB?
Yeah, that is in my PB, actually. All of my no major glitches, actually I think all of my, every single PB I have in this game, except for all bosses, no EG, which is not a popular category. Pretty much every single PB I have currently in this game has 0 blue balls, and that's just by luck, really. They don't really correlate to your PBs until your PB gets like super, super good. So there, I haven't explained this yet, but I was doing what's called spin dash super speed. A spin dash is a glitch, and it's one of the ways to activate super speed. So if you try and dash exactly one frame after you release a spin attack, the game will give you the super speed state. And if you touch stairs, then the game will let you walk with dash speed, because it still thinks you're in a dashing state. That's version 1.0 only. So now that I'm in Dark World, I have to be pretty careful about all the enemies here. I'm probably not going to actually be careful, but I should. Because most things do at least 2 hearts. Some things like the Snapdragon, the kind of disembodied mouth that was running around, those will one-shot me. But yeah, a lot of the things in do at least 1 heart, but most of them do 2. I think most things in this dungeon do just 1 heart. Helmasaur King does 2, so... But actually, I mentioned earlier, I need a sword beam for the heart deletion setup that I need to use for Helmasaur King. So a side effect of that is, unfortunately, that I have to do the fight completely damageless. I cannot take any damage on that fight, or I won't be able to delete the heart.
There's so much mirroring in this dungeon.
Yeah. I like to call this Mirror Palace sometimes.
Oh, 1 item, 0, 1 item, get out.
Yeah, this just happens to be the most efficient way to route this. It's a very modular dungeon in terms of routing. It's one of the hardest dungeons to route correctly in Randomizer, but it's one of the ones where you have the most freedom to do what you, not necessarily what you want, it depends on key layout, but you have a lot of options with the key layouts. I'm going to do a bomb jump here that we call hammer jump because it gets you to the hammer. It saves like 40 seconds. And it's, so I have to lay the bomb in a pixel perfect position on the y-axis, and then I have to stand Link in a pixel perfect position on the y-axis. There we go.
It's easy. Even I can do it.
So double pixel perfect on the y-axis. And that's why we use menu buffering to make sure we get it. Because you are on a timer with that crumbling bridge. Actually, I'm going to do something for safety. I'm just going to die here on purpose to give myself a save. Because if I mess up deleting the heart on Helmasaur King, then it's either run invalid or it's a softlock. And this is the style of heart deletion that I have to do here is by far the easiest one to mess up. Oh, I sword beamed it. Okay. Oops. I forgot I had sword beams here. Just wasted an arrow for no reason. Oops. So I'm gonna hope that these guys drop arrows for me. Oh man, the heart. The heart drop. That's not what I was looking for. Okay, so if I take any damage from this point on, then I have to mirror to the start of the dungeon and do this whole segment again. So I'm going to do my 3 lamps here, because I can't pause and use items after Helmasaur is dead. So I'm just going to get my 3 lamps out of the way here. Again, those 3 lamps set, I believe they set the Ancilla search index. So it's just to make sure that the rest of the setup works and that doing 6 arrows will cycle the slots into the correct spot. Okay, so this fight's really scary. In Phase 1, he does either Fireball or Tail Whip. In Phase 2, he will always do a Tail Whip, and sometimes a Fireball at the same time. Fireballs in Phase 2 are just, like, the absolute worst. Sometimes he can combo you doing both types of attacks, and there's really nothing you can do about it. I knew he was going to charge there. Oh, you're kidding me. Please don't swing your tail to the right. I'm already... Okay.
Heck.
There really wasn't a lot I could do there. That sucks.
Super ugly pattern.
Oh, the 10 drop. Okay, I will take that.
Does the lamp normalization stay through the mirror?
It does. But I also shot an arrow, and I'm not sure if it stays through the arrow. So I'm gonna do it again here. Really? Gotta be kidding me.
Heck.
I thought I was gonna be fine there, honestly. He was moving back.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna be able to dodge that. Oh, the game over text is actually made of ancillary objects, so if you die, then you for sure do have to redo the lamp setup. Man, I'm just getting owned by Helmasaur today. Oh my god. Really? Okay.
Perfect.
Having a turtle party over here.
We already did TMNT 4.
Okay. Setup should work. Oh, so the setup I need to use, I'm going to be shooting 6 arrows into the wall, and then I need to get next to the... I didn't equip that. Oh my god, I didn't equip... that's a reset.
Yeah. That's why you, you intentionally died?
See, he pinned me against the wall and let me get off a double spin, which I wasn't expecting. Oh my goodness. Can we... Okay, whatever. I'm just gonna walk. So because I can't menu after the boss is dead, I absolutely have to switch to arrows at some point before he dies. Get out of here. Literally just dropped my dash input. I almost died. That does 3 hearts. Alright, well, I put the estimate high for a reason. I definitely need to relamp this time. That's not gonna work, I don't think. Oh, what? Nice dash. Oh, right. I didn't... My save was before I did this. So I get to set the removing wall again. So I wouldn't say this is the hardest part of the run per se, but I think it's the hardest. It's the hardest part to get an on-pace run going past here. Okay, round whatever this is now. 5, I think. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, don't do it. Okay, finally. Okay, it's not over yet. I still have to delete the heart. The setup's kind of tricky. Okay, there we go.
That was a tough one.
So that's 6 arrows in the wall. The first 3 are just to cycle the latter 3 into the correct spots. And so your latter 3 are the ones that are filling up your slots, and then your 2 other slots are filled by the sword beam and the dash dust. So the fact that you have to kick a dash dust to make that one work is kind of tricky because it screws with your movement at the end. So it's tricky to time that dash dust without either doing it like too early and having it disappear before you touch the heart, or doing it too late and like touching the heart before your dash input gets off. So that heart deletion setup, I have to do the exact same thing again for the blind fight. And that's the last like difficult deletion per se that I'll have to do. I should have retried that spin speed at least once. Okay, I've been talking about item dashing. This is hammer dash is probably the most prolific one. It just lets you hammer straight through a row of pegs.
You can item dash without a sword, but you can't hammer or dash through pegs.
Right. That's a common misconception. Can we talk to the dude, please? Thank you. Nice, I got the quick word. I'm gonna try and do a spin speed here. Just because the red guard in this room, on the screen sucks a lot. There we go. I mean, it is still faster to do it, but not getting hit by the red guard is the more important reason to do it, I think. Because the red guards do an entire heart to you. So you have to start and end your dashes at very specific points on that screen to get the guard patterns to be correct. Otherwise, that top guard is going to walk into you, and you'll have to slash him out of the way. Really? Okay, that wasn't a bad random rock to get. There are really evil bush rocks you can get. Alright, so Thieves Town. We go here. This is supposed to be dungeon number 4 in the Dark World, but pretty much every speedrun is going to go here as soon as we get the hammer. Because the Titan's mitts, having them early is pretty essential for routing and everything else. That was a really unfortunate spot for that Zazak to stop in. The Zazaks, the walking horse heads, they all do 2 hearts. So I can't really afford to get hit very much. The room after this one is called Hellway. If I get a pixel perfect dash up the center, then this room might be fine. There we go, we got it.
Nice.
That's called the God Pixel. Oof. I missed my dash input there, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't miss it, but I didn't hold A long enough to charge it. And that's a mistake that really gets to me, because there's really no good reason for it. You can hold dash pretty much as long as you want. So this room's scary because these crickets do 2 hearts. So I gotta be careful because I can't take a hit now.
Fucking Jiminy.
These crickets are actually technically the same enemy as the rats in the Light World sewers, but they're one of a small subset of enemies that actually they check their stats depend on what world they're in. So if you put those crickets in the Light World, if the game thinks you're in the Light World, they will do half a heart of damage. If the game thinks you're in Dark World, they will do 2 full hearts. Really? Okay. My sword beam failed to kill that one. So sword beams are kind of a, dare I say it, double-edged sword in this game, because they're nice to have for ranged hits on enemies, but 1, they cause lag, and 2, they only do the damage of the fighter sword and not the sword that you're shooting them with. So sometimes you can get a fighter sword damage the first sword on an enemy when you don't want. Oh no, this is bad. Oh, nice snipe, dude. So me taking damage there was a problem because I need to be on full health for blinds. And I was going to be half a heart short, because I need sword beams to delete this heart as well. World record holder in this category, by the way. And I already could tell that I got bad RNG from that enemy. It was blocking the way. I wouldn't have been able to dash through it even if I got the correct pixel. And sometimes that's just how it is. Sometimes Hellway just doesn't let you through. That was risky. Okay, so because I died right there, I have to go get the maiden again. Okay, so this boss fight, as everyone likes to say, this boss fight is on a script. What that basically means is that there's no RNG element to it at all. It's completely deterministic. And it depends on the amount of frames that you let each phase be active for. So if I hit him on the first frame possible on all of these phases, then he will do the exact same thing every time. Oh, that's bad. Okay. I went off script. I did not mean to spin there. If you spin your sword there, that's very bad. You can do that by accident. Because normally you want to poke him. But if you don't hold the sword long enough after you get the poke in, it will still release it, as if you're trying to do a spin attack. Now, I could actually just go back to the boss room right now since I brought the main in there, but I'm not going to chance that right now. Because it changes the starting position of the fight. And the script for that one's entirely different, and it's number one, I don't know it. I don't know if anyone knows it. Really, like, just don't script the fight. But it would be a different script, and also it's a lot harder to get that first hit. My lamp setup should still be fine for the deletion. Let's try not to do spin attacks this time. That's better. As long as I don't get hit on phase 3. There we go.
Nice.
Alright. Alright, still gotta delete the heart. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. Okay, that was harder than it needed to be.
It's blind all of us in that we hate the light.
I don't think we all hate the light. I think it was just you and me.
Heck.
Okay, so in most routes, you would go and get the Tempered Sword right now. That's one of the good things about doing this dungeon that early, is that Titan's Mitt give you access to the Tempered Sword. But since we don't pick up Tempered Sword in low percent, I'm just gonna get these 300 rupees, and I'm actually gonna go to Misery Mire right now, since Mitts also open up Misery Mire. Misery Mire is where the Cane of Samaria is. And it's best to get that, for my route, it's best to get that early as possible, so you can use it for all the other, for all of the other heart deletions. I have to go with the Ether Medallion real quick, because it's required to get into Misery Mire. And this room is, or this screen is extremely unforgiving. Death Mountain has actually been super nice to me so far this run. Pretty much nothing else has, but Death Mountain has been, it's got my back this run. So it is a little bit faster to just continue like the regular, what the regular 80% route would do, and go straight to Skull Woods. It saves about 40 seconds to do that instead of what I'm doing, because you'd end up having Fire Rod for Mire. Fire Rod saves a bit of time in Misery Mire, and it's just a cleaner route overall. But doing Skull Woods without the Cane of Samaria to delete the heart means that you would have to do a damageless Mothula fight as well, and you would have to do the arrow setup for Mothula. And
No.
yeah, it's a lot harder to do that fight damageless than it is to do Helmasaur damageless, and I already had a lot of trouble with that. It's incredibly unsafe. So if I can get all these Wizarobes done, the Wizarobes disappear after they shoot their attack, so it's important to get the one cycle on that, get them all killed before. Really? Get them all killed before they disappear. Because they will waste the most time if you let them disappear. I had a strat for the big room, but I forgot it. The big room I do in a non-standard way because we want to grab this arrow pod, which you don't want to get in almost any other category. Now, I don't need arrows anymore for card deletion since I'm getting the Cane of Samaria in this dungeon. But I still do want arrows to supplement my Vitreous kill, because the Vitreous fight's really hard with only 3 hearts and Master Sword. Tempered Sword goes a long, long way to getting like the optimal spin strat for the fight where you take a bunch of damage in the goo. So it manages to cut the eyes down in much fewer sword spins. But since we both don't have that, and we don't have more hearts to work with, we can't really take damage on that fight. We can take a little bit, but if we get hit by an eye at all, we're dead. And the lightning strikes do 2 hearts, so I would actually prefer to not take damage if I can help it. I did a bit of uncommon routing in this dungeon. I got the bridge key first, instead of going to the room to the right, which normally you pick up the pot key there. That's because I can't get the key that's on the spikes, the chest that's on spikes in that room. I can't get that with only 3 hearts. Technically you can, but you have to manipulate a Stalfos to hit you, so that you don't take the full 1 heart of damage from that spike hit. But since I'm just going through this room later anyways, I'll just get the pot key right now, instead of earlier. Because if I didn't get the bridge key, then I would have had to substitute it with 1 other key, and that would have been the lobby key in the main room, and that takes longer. And there's more of a risk of getting hit when you do that. Oh, I didn't move high enough because I was scared of the Medusa fireball. Okay, so after I go up the stairs here, it's the last room before the boss. Dodging the Winder here and the Anti-Fairy is kind of tricky. Oh wow, I didn't do a good strat there. Oh, that's okay, we didn't take damage. Okay, so he randomly picks an eyeball to beeline for you until he's picked each one in the cycle, and then he shoots lightning from the center one. So I let 2 cycles go by, I try to get 4 spins in each one. And then I start opening fire with arrows. So I have to remember to equip Samaria before I land the killing blow here. So we're going to place the block in the center of the room, and then cane dash into the heart.
Easy.
I'm actually super glad that fight went well, because this is, I think, my favorite fight in the run. It's the one I've spent the most time on. I think that that is the that's one of the toughest fights to get, like, on low equipment in randomizer. Like, one of the ones I think most people are not well prepared for.
Certainly a fight you need to keep an eye on.
I'm glad you're providing the jokes while I'm actually attempting to take the run seriously, because I'll just die if I don't.
I try.
Okay, so now I have this stupid cane. I can go to Skullwoods and not have to do a damageless moth fight. I think Mothula is the hardest fight in the run. That's just my opinion. I don't think everyone agrees with me. But this fight is just incredibly chaotic. Also, I really, really, really hate having sword beams for this overworld segment. It's so bad. So since we have Cane of Samaria here, you basically don't get to do this in any other category, but we can just, Really? Come on! I practiced that strat. I have a strat there for standing on the switch and then laying the cane block next to you and pushing it while you're on the switch so that you don't end up opening and closing the door twice. And that's a very uncommon strat, and I didn't get to do it because I messed it up. Oops. Okay. That's fine if we die here, honestly. I might just take the death on purpose. So if I dash block into this, it widens the window for bomb jumps from 2 pixels to 6. That Molder is in a dumb spot. I'm just gonna die here to refill my health. And to get a save and quit point in case I screw up somehow.
Hacksaw.
Because, like, the most real ways that I can, like, screw up to a large degree here are if I forget to equip Cane of Samaria before I kill a boss, then it's just over. I won't be able to menu to it to delete the heart. That's, like, the worst things I can do from here on out. Or fail a cane dash, I guess.
Well, fail it and not stop yourself.
Yeah, true. Or run out of magic. That's one of the slight differences for a couple of these fights, is that you have to make sure you have enough magic to actually use Cane of Samaria.
Don't use Fire Rod too much on the mobs.
Oh, I didn't get the full magic. Oh, I might not have got it anyway since I've been saving and quitting. I can use 1 Fire Rod shot, I think. So Mothula doesn't take damage if you knock him into spikes, because spikes normally do gold sword damage to enemies, and they didn't want you to get a ton of free damage in on him, so they just made him invulnerable to that damage class. And it actually results in a pretty buggy fight. I do not like where these spikes are going. How did I not get hit there? Like, actually, how?
Not getting hit.
I have to play this one a bit off-center, because if the cane beams collide with the blocks, they'll actually disappear earlier. Alright. That was the boss fight. I don't know, I was pretty scared of Helmasaur, too. Helmasaur is not harder, but it's a lot more runs tend to hinge on Helmasaur, I think. But this is just, I don't know. This boss fight is very inconsistent for me.
Just not dying.
Well, okay, I say it's inconsistent. I think it's just easy to choke, because I had one run where I was on really good pace, and I get to Moth, and I die 6 times. I didn't die anywhere else, but I died 6 times on Moth, which is really frustrating. The rest of the run was really good. So I get upset. I boot up the practice hack after I finish the run, and I do damage with Moth 3 times in a row. Like, go figure.
That was a weird music glitch.
Music glitch?
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't hear it. Do you mean that it's not playing a Lost Woods music? I'm not sure what you mean.
No, there's just a missing notes or something like that.
It's probably because I was doing something that took up a sound channel at the same time.
Yeah. Just haven't heard it before.
I was supposed to save and quit the pyramid. Whoops. Oh, okay, that's bad. I don't think I've ever mistimed that rock throw.
Should you save and quit now?
No. Well, one of these enemies might save and quit for me. That bush has a 50-50 of dropping a heart. Of course, it decided not to this time. It's fine. I'm saving and quitting after I get the flippers here. So, as long as I don't take damage in here, I'll be okay. That mistake was on purpose, so I would get invincibility frames from falling in the water.
Yeah.
That actually wasn't, I'm just bad.
Steep price just to swim.
Well, it's better than paying 500 for a heart piece.
Certainly breaks your heart.
What is this menu? I swear I've never seen this menu before. Oh, really? Okay. I'm mad that that shot me. If you kill one of the Octoroks on that screen, then it reduces the lag from the warp. And usually that's pretty free to do with your sword beam. But the Octorok from the bottom shot me through the statue, by the way. And took away my sword beam. Oh, by the way, Japanese 1.0 glitch. If you use the mirror at the same time as you're pushing a block, the block disappears.
Mirror dilution.
It actually goes like out of bounds somewhere and like doesn't ever stop getting pushed or something like that. There was an actual explanation of why it does that in the code, and it makes absolutely no sense. I don't understand it. Okay, so Swamp Palace. It's normally a fairly relaxing dungeon. that was a bad decision. But for low percent, because this dungeon tends to just like whittle your health down a lot, in any percent you can afford that most of the time, because nothing in here really does a lot of damage, but you'll get hit frequently, which is fine if you have a lot of hearts. But we don't have a lot of hearts, so even really small mistakes are going to be really painful here.
Yeah, this is like number 2.
Number 2, oh, like dungeon order?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is normally the second dungeon. We never, like, nobody does this as a second dungeon, like, ever, because,
except plebs.
yeah. Because it takes so many rupees to get flippers. And it puts the routing of this, like, so out of the way, and, also having Master Sword for this dungeon sucks.
Is there a meme category that does the dungeons in order, as intended?
I think so. I don't think it really has. Why did I equip the mirror here? That was a randomizer menu. Just ignore that. Okay, whatever. This menu doesn't matter. I'm menuing to the hookshot for the next thing I do, anyways. Just pretend I didn't do either of those. That was totally a randomizer menu.
The mirror is obviously so that you can look at yourself in.
I can already do that by looking slightly up and to the left.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a kind of setup there. Really? Come on. So there's a kind of setup, if you do the movement from the hookshot chest in a certain way, that gets you the exact pixel that you need to hook onto the key pot all the way from the left. Doing 2 slashes there is pretty much exactly the amount of time you need to stall to wait out that Bari being electrified. If it is electrified. Okay, so the Argus fight, the optimal strat uses hook dashes to kill the puffs quickly, and that's already really hard with Tempered Sword. It's way harder with just Master Sword, so I am not practiced at it. I'm not going to try it. But the sucky thing about Master Sword here is that they don't kill the puffs in one hit. Unlike the Tempered Sword. This is why Tempered Sword is so good here. Also, I need to be careful and not let them hit me like that, because that's painful. So I'm going to try and at least go for the phase 2 quick kill. This is a bit risky. But I'm going to try and fire rod him to death. And if I don't equip Kane correctly on here, then that actually makes me unable to delete Thar, so that's pretty scary to go for.
Yeah. Argos. Isn't that the football team?
Okay, so we just got Ice Palace and Turtle Rock left. Turtle Rock's traditionally the last crystal dungeon that you do. And it's pretty much always the last one you'll do in speedrun as well, because it's right next to Ganon's Tower. So there's kind of an interesting thing that I have to make sure that I do for the Ice Palace boss, Cold Stare, because normally what you would do is normally you would just fire rod the shell 8 times and use up all your magic to get to the second phase of the fight. But we need magic left over to be able to use Cane of Samaria, so we can't do that. And we don't have half magic, we don't have any extra bottles because it's low percent. So to be able to use the Cane of Samaria block on the Cold Stare fight, we have to take advantage of a glitch. And this glitch is basically hold on, I need to concentrate. Not messing up this room. If I take damage here that I'm not supposed to, then I lose a lot of time. Because the strat for Cold Stare requires a sword beam. So I'm going to take damage here doing the Ice Palace spawn jump. There we go. I managed to get that that lineup just in time. So I've got that 1 heart to get me back to full, so we're fine, but... Also, bomb pen gators. It's a fun strat. So normally you just like tank this spike hit, but I need to maintain my full health here for the sword beam. So basically, if you hit an enemy with 2 attacks in quick succession, the second attack will overwrite the damage of the first attack, but it will retain the properties of the first attack. So with Cold Stare's shell, what we actually want is the properties of the first attack, which is the Fire Rod, to be kept. The properties of the Fire Rod shot is what causes it to melt. So we're going to Fire Rod shot, Sword Beam, Fire Rod shot, Sword Beam. And the Sword Beam hitting it, if I do this right, each of those Sword Beams counted as a Fire Rod hit. So now I still had a bunch of magic left. So now I have enough magic to use a Cane of Samaria block, as well as use the Fire Rod some extra times. And also, that was a bad time to swing my sword. I wasn't really aware enough of when that puff was going to start moving. I should have been paying a bit more attention.
Was that death number 3?
I feel like I've died a lot more than that. I stopped counting.
All right, Almasaur.
There's a small glitch that gets taken advantage of in the Stalfos night room. There's only like one global variable that's used to determine whether they're knocked down or not. So you only need to have one of them knocked down, and if you hit them with the bomb, it'll if just one of them is knocked down, it'll treat them like all of them are knocked down. Okay, I needed that magic drop. It's pretty unlikely for me to not get a full magic at some point here, but I got almost no drops from them, so that's seeming like a reality. Okay. Oh, okay. Normally they only move diagonally, like bishops. There we go. I don't know which one's gonna drop a heart. Okay. Yeah, so normally they only move diagonally, but in situations, there's some situations where they randomly beeline you, and instead of moving diagonally, they will instead charge directly at where Link is. That's the only way that they can move non-diagonally. And they have increased speed when they do that, so if you see a puff that's not moving exactly diagonally, you know that it's going to be moving faster.
It's kind of interesting that Ice Palace doesn't really get the big key.
Yeah, the bomb jump kind of just breaks the whole dungeon.
Yeah.
And we don't need the big chest, it just has the blue mail. That's actually pretty fortunate. Like, if we needed that big chest item.
But the mail came in a brown box.
What?
I got something in the mail. Got that thing in the mail for you. It came in a brown box.
Yeah, so it wasn't blue. And we have to get the ice rod before going to Turtle Rock, because the boss requires it.
I get the glass.
Oh, what's the menu for this? Is it left down? Yes, it is. Okay, cool.
I don't know the menu.
I always forget what that menu is when you don't have bombs. Let's go for Waffle House Drive. Okay, never mind. There's a trick here called Waffle House Drive-Thru where you get a super speed, and then you run through the entire rock garden with it.
So obviously named by an American.
The rock garden's named the Waffle House because the runner Waffle 42 has a pretty famous clip of him getting Dead Rock stuck multiple times in there, to the point where he died from full hearts in any percent, which was, how many hearts is that?
12, 13?
12? 12 or 13.
Wow.
So there are two other ways to get super speed that aren't spin dashing. Hook dashes, hook shot item dash, and medallion item dash actually get you super speed as well. So I'm going to use that to get a quick one off these stairs. That's really hard to... it probably doesn't save time half the time I do it. It's so precise and then saves so little time.
But it looks cool.
But it looks cool. It's also really hard to control Link to the point where you aren't jumping off diagonally off that ledge.
Ludicrous speed.
Yeah, if you jump off diagonally, then it just loses time. It's a lot slower. Oh wow, I missed the hook shot. You have to light that torch on like the top half of it to have enough time to get this hook shot off. I think I'm gonna take the death here to refill my hearts. Now we have Chain Chomps coming up. This is the only death that my PB had.
You also had sword beams.
I did have sword beams. Sword beams are supposed to make this room easier, but not if you get really dumb RNG like this. This chomp is on top of the block that I need to push. Please don't hit me. I'm starting to feel like sword beams aren't actually good for this. The most common 80% strat for that room is to use the Samaria block to hit the switches. In low percent, generally, if you don't have sword beams, you want to use a fire rod shot. The strats with the fire rod shot are kind of tricky, and they cost a lot more magic than everything else. If you don't look directly at, if you don't face in the direction of the eye door, then the eye won't open. At least that one. There are specific types of eye lasers. So there's, yeah, I think there's two types of eye lasers. There's one type that will, there's one type that will shoot no matter what if you're in its path. And there's one type that will there's one type that will only shoot if you're facing it. And the type of eye laser is actually dependent on it's dependent on the coordinates that the, really? I was like barely too slow on that. The type of eye laser that it functions as depends entirely on the coordinates where it's placed. It's a function of what coordinate it's on. So I gotta bust out the fire rod here. If you have Tempered Sword, you would just double spin the pokies. But without Tempered Sword, our best option is fire rod. And that's why you want to shoot the crystal switches in the chain chomps with the fire rod. Okay, I have beams for this, so this is a lot easier. But yeah, that's why you want the fire rod to shoot the switches in low percent, because you have to be on it anyways for the pokey before and the pokey after. So it cuts out two menus to use fire rod for the switches. Oh, I don't have any bombs. I can't take the safety door. I was actually going to this run, just so I don't go over estimate. But pretty confident with this laser. It's good. Okay. I did that slash as if I had a sword beam. That's why I messed it up. Okay, so Trinix. Don't really have too much to say about this fight. Okay, that's stupid. That's really stupid. I was off cycle, so I shouldn't have gone for that slash right then, but I was off cycle because of two things that happened. One was I missed a slash on the firehead, which put me later on the cycle. And two was I shot that fire rod on the ice head on the frame that it stopped spitting ice. And if you fire rod it on the frame that it stops spitting ice, then it doesn't register as a hit.
Bombs.
What? Oh, 8 bombs. Yeah, I don't need any of them. I think I'm gonna take the safety door this time. I honestly didn't expect that fight to go wrong, but it did.
Trying to fight gone wrong. No clickbait.
Okay.
Health refill.
This Helmosaur has my number today.
Elmasaur.
There we go, that's better. Get this double spin off the head here. Now I need to quick cane before I kill him. This boss heart always spawns in the center of the room. instead of where Trinex explodes, because Trinex can explode inside the wall. So they accounted for that. Okay, that's all 10 heart deletions done.
Yay.
Okay, so now we just got Ganon's Tower and Ganon left.
Alright, pick a number. Wait, wrong category.
3. I think I'm going to be a couple minutes over estimate. Okay, so these screens are kind of scary because they're these Lionels. They do 4 hearts of damage if you touch them. And they also don't take damage from a Master Sword hit, so I have to stop my dash and hammer this one out of the way. There's normally, in like any percent, you could just dash through that one. Okay, so Ganon's Tower is basically just a trip through the basement to get the big key, which is behind a rematch of the Armos Knights, except on an ice floor this time.
Sounds like a crappy musical. The tower climb is the most intense part of this, though. There are 5 rooms, I think on the 4th floor? Oops, I forgot to lay the bomb. Here. Wow, I can't believe that anti-free didn't hit me. Shot some extra arrows in that fight. The normal strat for this takes a lot of spike hits, but we can't afford to do that. So I gotta go very carefully. These 2 mimic rooms are some of the hardest rooms to optimize in the game. Damn copycats.
If you make these guys face you directly, then they will shoot a beam at you that does 2 hearts, and you don't want that to happen. Nice, okay. There's a very specific way that we do that room to avoid getting hit by spikes. Okay, and we begin the gauntlet. It's a series of 5 rooms with a bunch of enemies and a bunch of kind of obstacles, I guess. Just things that make the movement more difficult. So we've got these conveyors. Now we have conveyors and spikes. And BMOS. Ow. And these Azacs do 2 hearts of damage, so I can't get hit by them. Now we've got conveyor spikes, ice, and BMOS. Okay, actually survived the first gauntlet trip. Wow.
Froy guy is proud.
Oh, I need to save a bit of magic here.
And save a bit of health.
Okay. I need some magic to use Mario to kill these Wizrobes. Thanks, D-pad.
Blame J1.0.
Okay, I kind of wanted that heart, but that's okay. So you particularly need the magic for... Oh, come on. I should have known I was going to be too slow to beat that fireball, but I went for it anyways. But yeah, it's that torch room that you really want the magic for. There are 2 magic pots in that room, but they're not placed super conveniently. And if you run out of magic after that, you're done. You have to climb the whole tower again.
Any hovers?
Really? Okay, now this is scary. I might actually die to Aga too now. Okay, so Aghanim's back. He's got 2 clones this time. The clones will always shoot energy balls. There are no lightning strikes this run, but oh, okay. Okay. But on some parts of the cycle, the real Aga can shoot a blue ball. The clones can't shoot blue balls, but the real one can, so I gotta be careful.
Oh.
That's probably one of the worst places to die in the game. It's also, you don't see that death very often. It's okay, this can still sub 2. This room is so stupid sometimes. That spike blocked my arrow shot. don't know, the Aghanim 2 fight plays out very differently when you're trying to not get hit at all during it. Which I'm not really used to, because usually the hearts that you pick up towards the end of, like after Gauntlet, usually the heart pots there are enough to last you. So I'm definitely not often in the situation where that matters. Oh, this is bad. Yeah. I saw that coming. It's really bad to be on one heart in that room in particular. Also, I've only got 4 arrows left, so I have to not mess up first Mimic room now. Mimics 2 has the arrow pot in it, so I'll be fine for that one. Okay, we've got the 10th drop, so we're fine. Oops, accidentally shot. This is fine, I'll just hit up the fairy room. It's not a big deal. Actually kind of impressed that with 2 deaths so far, that's the first time I had to hit up the fairy room.
Probably one of the toughest categories you run.
Sorry?
Probably one of the toughest categories you run, if not D.
Probably not V. Of this game, yeah, I guess so. But there's some low percents for Super Metroid ROM hacks I've done that are probably harder than this. But they're also not really competitive speedruns. This at least, like, there are at least 7 times for this category so far. That's fine. Okay, 2 out of 3 gauntlets survived. That's pretty good.
Good practice for later.
See, walking off the edge there is what did it. Walking off the edge and missing the heart drop in this room by just barely not touching it, and then getting knocked down by Moldorm. Like, all those things combined are what killed me.
Yeah, it's like 3 lost hearts.
That's actually, it's not common for me to make that many... I guess I'll say like that many mistakes. Or that many of that particular kind of mistake in the same like segment run of this. Like usually those don't all happen at once. Dude, Moldarm is being really mean to me today.
Troll Dorm.
I usually don't believe in Trolldorm, honestly. Like, a lot of times I watch people take Moldarm falls, and I'm just like, no, that was kind of your fault. You just like walked into him. But I don't know.
Hey, those Moldorm falls I took were totally Moldorm's fault earlier today.
Okay, now I'm not gonna die to this fight. That pattern's not easy. Of course I missed that pattern. That one was kind of free. Totally fine. Nothing to worry about. Half a heart doesn't really matter here anyways. You just get one shot by most of Ganon's attacks anyways. The first two phases of Ganon, the fire bats do 4 hearts. The last two phases, they do 2 hearts for some reason. I don't know why it's different. But last two phases, they're pretty easy to dodge anyways. So, Master Sword is too weak to actually slash Ganon. So, every hit has to be a spin attack. So it's 12 spins this phase, 12 spins phase 2. Phase 2 is the hardest to deal with by far. One, this is phase 2, 2. 3, because he starts spinning these fire bat rings now.
Insane fire bat rings.
4. That's too risky. 5. 6. Oh. If you get stuck in the corner top right, you can get 8. You can get 10 spins off him for free, basically. This is the worst spot. Oh my god.
Whoa.
Actually, there's a slightly worse spot. If he has one tile to the right of that, that would be the worst.
Oh. That was 9 in.
I really wanted that top right spot, even though I was almost done phase 2 anyways. I really wanted the top right free spot. I shouldn't have gone for it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good, because I'm going to end the phase here.
Ooh.
6, 7, 8. I think I started too late to really safely get the 9, 10 off. 8 hits is still pretty good though. That's a bad warp.
Yeah.
I can't do anything from here. That sucks. See, I only need 3 hits left to the cycle, and I put myself in a really unsafe position to even get 3. So I have to sit through another one. Okay, now he's done. Now phase 3 where he breaks the floor. What are these fire bat? Oh, right. Okay, the fire bat patterns get messed up if you die. The Ice Armos fight actually normalizes the variable that's used to determine arc patterns. which the fire bats also use. Okay.
That's very important.
Okay, yeah, so torch glitch, if I light that torch before the other one goes out, I do not like that warp at all for lighting the torch. If I light the left one before the right one goes out, the right one always stays lit, which makes this pretty much possible to do on these resources. So now I have to hit 24 spins on him. And you're supposed to have the silver arrows here, so you're supposed to be stunning him, turning him blue, and getting hits off like that.
Did I hit?
That was not a hit. So for the silverless strat, you have to hit him as he's teleporting away. He's vulnerable for 1 frame as he's teleporting away. That's not a 1 frame window to hit, because all you have to do is have your sword hitbox overlap him during that 1 frame, and the sword spin lasts for like over half a second. But because we have a weak sword here, we have to do it twice as many times as any percent does.
Nice.
There we go. Okay, coming up on time as soon as I walk through the door. And it's time. Okay, so that was like 29 minutes over my PB.
Welcome to tomorrow.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. That was like about as rough as this gets, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of unfortunate, but
It's a brutal category.
yeah, let's say that. I would say that about this round. All right, well, thanks everyone for watching. Shoutouts to Tracy. Owl is on my couch. John. Shouts to my girlfriend, Polar Bear Bunny, for being amazing. And yeah, working on this category has been really fun. I got the record in it about a month ago, and it's probably going to be taken by someone better than me pretty soon, but I'm hoping to get a better time before that happens. Like a 131 is kind of what I would like. Just like the challenge of it, it's really cool. And this game's really cool. I play a lot of randomizer of it too. I don't know. I play a lot of Super Metroid too. Both those games are really fun. Got a lot of in-depth stuff. I don't know. Thanks for having me. Sorry that. Yeah.